All right. Welcome back to BB and Bobina's Book Nook, a division of RC Squared, a podcast for the people. So we are picking back up a book by Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So we are still in just the very beginning of the book. And let's continue on. And this is a revised. They added because the original was How to Win Friends, and it has parlayed and grown since then. And Donna Dale Carnegie's daughter, has significantly added to it. So let's continue on. 9 suggestions on how to get the most out of this book. If you wish, well, here's one. All right. 1. If you wish to get the most out of this book, there is one indispensable requirement, one essential, infinitely more important than any rule or technique. Unless you have this one fundamental requisite, 1,000 rules on how to study will make no difference. If you do have this cardinal endowment, then you can achieve wonders without reading any suggestions for getting the most out of a book. Well, let's see if we have this. All right. What is this magic requirement? Just this: a deep, driving desire to learn, a vigorous determination to increase your ability to deal with people. How can you develop such an urge? By constantly reminding yourself how important these principles are to you. Picture to yourself how their mastery will aid you in leading a richer, happier, and more fulfilling life. Say to yourself over and over, my popularity, my happiness, and my sense of worth depend to no small extent upon my skill in dealing with people. I like that. I like that. All right, let's dive into number 2. Read number 2. Read each chapter rapidly at first to get a bird's eye view of it. You will probably be tempted then to rush on to the next one. Don't, unless you are reading merely for entertainment. But if you are reading because you want to increase your skill in human relations, then go back and reread each chapter thoroughly. In the long run, this will save time and produce better results. Yeah. Number 3, stop frequently in your reading to think over what you are reading. Ask yourself just how and when you can apply each suggestion. Number 4, read and highlight with a pencil, pen, or marker in your hand. When you come across a suggestion that you feel you can use, draw a line beside it. If it is a 4-star suggestion, then underscore every sentence or highlight it. Sorry, there's something in my eye. Or mark with, and it shows 4 asterisks in quotes. Marking and underscoring a book makes it more interesting and far easier to review rapidly. And I do make notes. Especially in my Bible. All right, let's keep going. Number 5. Number 5 is kind of lengthy. I knew a woman who had been office manager for a large insurance concern for 15 years. Every month, she read all the insurance contracts her company had issued that month. Yes, she read over many of the same contracts month after month, year after year. Why? Because experience had taught her that that was the only way she could keep their provisions clearly in mind. I once spent almost 2 years writing a book on public speaking, and yet I found I had to keep going back over it from time to time in order to remember what I had written in my own book. The rapidity with which we forget is astonishing. And I wanna add my own little I usually try to read it all the way through and then add my commentary, but I do wanna add a commentary to this. So I'll say it again. Anyone in the podcasting world that's seeking, to grow your podcast, I only know for myself that I definitely, as much as it pains me, I do have to go back and watch my own stuff. Even if we have a team doing it periodically, we should be going back and watching our own stuff. It's the only way that we can really get better at what we do. And so I would agree with this statement. Let's keep going. If you want to get a real lasting benefit out of this book, don't imagine that skimming through it once will suffice. And I will say that's the same with the Bible. You know, um, in order to understand how something happens, we must know what happened at the beginning as far back as we can see. And the greats have, quoted it in their own quotes. Winston Churchill said, "We can only look as far into the future as far back as we can see in the past." And that's to keep us from making the same mistakes over and over again. So I really like what's being said so far. So let's keep going. After reading it thoroughly, you ought to spend a few hours reviewing it every month. Keep it on your desk or somewhere you can see it every day. Glance through it often. Keep constantly impressing yourself with the rich possibilities for improvement that still lie in your future. Remember that the use of these principles can make habitual only by a constant and vigorous campaign of review and application. There is no other way, no easy way, no shortcuts. I like that, I really like that they address that. So I will say again, this book is deemed the OG of self help books. Any other self help book that came after it, it's derived from this. And a lot of these things, I think that we might be able to relate to the Bible. Uh, I wonder if Dale Carnegie was a Christian man. We'll find out though. Let's see. So number 6, Bernard Shaw. Bernard Shaw, the Irish playwright, once remarked, "If you teach a man anything, he will never learn." Shaw was right. Learning is an active process. We learn by doing. So, if you desire to master the principles you are studying in this book, do something about them. Apply these rules at every opportunity. If you don't, you will quickly forget them. Only knowledge that is used sticks in your mind. Oh, so that's like a muscle. If we don't exercise it, it turns to flab. And one of our biggest muscles is our brain. If we do not, it's like a muscle. If we don't exercise it, our brains will turn to flab. I agree with that statement. You will probably find it difficult to apply these suggestions all the time. I know because I wrote the book, and yet frequently I've found it difficult to apply everything I advocated. For example, when you are displeased, it is much easier to criticize and condemn than it is to try to understand the other person's viewpoint. It is frequently easier to find fault than to find praise. It is more natural to talk about what you want than to talk about the other person's wants, than what the other person wants. Let me read that again. It is frequently easier to find fault than to find praise. It is more natural to talk about what you want, than to talk about what the other person wants, and so on. So, as you read this book, remember that you are not merely trying to acquire information, you are attempting to form new habits. Ah, yes, you are attempting a new way of life that will require time and persistence and daily application. Yes, it will. That's with any endeavor, I believe. And especially when we're young, we think we can get that instant gratification, all of that. So let's keep going. So refer to these pages often. Regard this as a working handbook on human relations. And whenever you are confronted with some specific problem, such as handling a child, winning your spouse, partner, or boss to your way of thinking, or satisfying an irritated customer. Hesitate about doing the natural thing, the impulsive thing. This is usually wrong. Instead, turn to these pages and review the paragraphs you have underscored. Then try these new ways and watch them achieve magic for you. Well, let's see. And it would be interesting to see how many of these things that some of us already do. Number 7, offer your spouse, your child, or some business associate $1 every time they catch you violating a certain principle. Make a lively game out of mastering these rules. That should be interesting. Number 8. The president of a Wall Street bank once described in a talk before one of my classes a highly efficient system he used for self improvement. This man had little formal schooling, yet he had become one of the most important financiers in America. And he confessed that he owed most of his success to the constant application of his homemade system. This is what he does. I'll put it in his own words as accurately as I can remember. Quote, 4 years, I have kept an engagement book showing all the appointments I had during the day. My family never made any plans for me on Saturday night, for the family knew that I devoted a part of each Saturday evening to the illuminating process of self examination and review and appraisal. After dinner, I went off by myself, opened my engagement book, and thought over all the interviews, discussions, and meetings that had taken place during the week. I asked myself, what mistakes did I make that time? What did I do that was right? And in what way could I have improved my performance? What lessons can I learn from that experience? I often found that this weekly review made me very unhappy. I was frequently astonished at my own blunders. Of course, as the years passed, these blunders became less frequent. Sometimes I was inclined to pat myself on the back a little after one of these sessions. This system of self analysis and self education, which continued year after year, did more for me than any other thing I have ever attempted. It helped me improve my ability to make decisions, and it aided me enormously in all my contacts with people. I cannot recommend it too highly. Why not use a similar system to check up on your application of the principles discussed in this book? If you do, two things will result. First, you will find yourself engaged in an educational process that is both intriguing and priceless. Second, you will find that your ability to meet and deal with people will grow enormously. Number 9, it may be helpful for you to record your triumphs after you apply these principles. Be specific, give names, dates, results. Keeping such a record will inspire you to greater efforts. And how fascinating these entries will be when you chance upon them some evening years from now. To review, to get the most out of this book, A, develop a deep, driving desire to master the principles of human relations. B, read each sorry. B, read each chapter twice before going on to the next one. That's a good recommendation. C, as you read, stop frequently to ask yourself can how C, as you read, stop frequently to ask yourself how you can apply each suggestion. D, underscore each important idea. E, review this book each month. F, apply these principles at every opportunity. Use this volume as a working handbook to help you solve your daily problems. G, Make a lively game out of your learning by offering some friend $1 every time they catch you violating one of these principles. H. Check up each week on the progress you are making. Ask yourself what mistakes you have made, what improvement, what lessons you have learned for the future. I. Keep notes in the back of this book showing how and when you applied these principles. All right, so that's it. And part 1 will be fundamental techniques in handling people. That should be truly interesting. All right, catch you on the next one.